In this video series, we will be discussing the Day of the Lord. This is a Bible term used by various Bible writers indicating a coming day when God's wrath is released on this sinful earth. Depending upon which Bible translation you have, the term the Day of the Lord occurs about 24 times in the Bible, both in the Old and the New Testament. So in this study, we will be investigating various Bible prophecies in Daniel and Revelation primarily, as it relates to this coming crisis. This is a very large subject to study. So what I have done is broken the study into 10 steps. Now, of course, the Bible doesn't have 10 steps that outlines this topic, but I have done this so that it's more easily digestible and we can follow along easier by using this method. Now, the video we're watching now is the introduction, and after this we'll have this number 2 video, which will give you some large concepts and give you the big overall picture of what's going to be unfolding here. So let's start by looking at a few Bible references to this topic. In the Old Testament book of Obadiah, in chapter 1, verse 15, we read, "The day of the Lord is near for all nations. As you have done, it will be done unto you. Your deeds will return upon your own head." In the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "Blow the trumpet in Zion. Sound the alarm on my holy hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming." Over in Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 6, it says, "Wail, for the day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty." In Zebediah, chapter 1, verse 14, we find, "The great day of the Lord is near, near and coming quickly." In the New Testament, 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10, we read, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar. The elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything done in it will be laid bare." There's other Bible passages that indicate a coming crisis. Let's take a look at a few of these. In the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 14, it says, "Sir, you know, these are they who have come out of the great tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb." Over in Matthew, chapter 24, verses 21 through 22, we read, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except these days should be shortened, there should be no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, these days shall be shortened." Again in Revelation chapter 22, verse 10, "Then he told me, do not seal up the words of the prophecy of this book, because the time is near." Yes, the time is near. Over in Colossians chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, we read, "Put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature: sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming." The wrath of God, the time is near, the great tribulation, the day of the Lord. All of these are pointing to a day of coming crisis. On the bottom here, we have a little line starting back with 4000 BC and moving right up into 1000 and 2000 AD, right up through today. The text that we just read shows that all these prophets of the Old Testament and New Testament were prophesying and predicting that the day of the Lord would occur back in their time. And this was over 2,000 years ago. So they all predicted the day of the Lord would occur in their day, but this event has not occurred yet. Why is that? All right, well, let's look at what the New Testament's Apostle Paul says about Jesus' second coming. He says, "Now, brothers and sisters, about times and dates." About times and dates. What he's talking about is what is the time and what is the date of Jesus' second coming. It says, "We do not need to write to you, for you know very well that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night." That's in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 1 and 3. While people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come on them suddenly as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. As labor pains on a pregnant woman. When a woman is pregnant and she starts to have labor pains, the initial labor pains are generally mild versus later on, and they are not so frequent. As she gets closer to delivery, the labor pains are sharper, larger, and they come more in faster repetition. So here we're saying that destruction will come on them suddenly as labor pains on a pregnant woman. The closer we get to this, the more labor pains and the quicker they will come. So does Jesus say anything about the coming crisis? Let's take a look. But he says here, "But about the day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father." Now don't forget, he said this while he was on earth. I believe, and I think I can show it to you at a future video, that Jesus does know, because he is the one that is going to execute this final judgment on earth. So he goes on here and he says, "Be on guard, be alert. You do not know that when that time will come. It's like a man going away. He leaves his house and puts his servants in charge, each with an assigned task, and tells the one at the door to keep watch. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back, whether in the evening or at midnight, or when the rooster crows, or at dawn. If he comes suddenly, do not let him find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to everyone, watch." This is what Jesus told us to do, is to watch. Revelation 3, verse 11, he says, I am coming. I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take your crown. Hold on to what you have so no one will take your crown. I like this one. He says, look, I am coming soon. Blessed are those who keep the words of this prophecy in this scroll. That's Revelation 22, verse 7. Here again he says, look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to everyone according to what they have done. Revelation 22:12. So he is bringing a reward with him to give to us. He who testifies to these things says, yes, I am coming soon. Yes, I am coming soon. Revelation 22, verse 20. One day, when Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately and asked him, they said, tell us, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Now, the Jews always wanted to have a sign from God. So they were always looking for a sign of your coming and the end of the age. That's Matthew 24, verse 3. So Jesus replied to them, he said, watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. So the end will come after we see these things. Nations will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. All these are the beginning of birth pains. As I mentioned before, birth pains start off at a lower threshold and less frequent. As the woman gets closer to delivery, the pains get sharper and more frequent. And Jesus says all these are the beginnings of birth pains. Then you will be handed over and be persecuted and put to death. And you will be hated by all nations because of me. Well, not all the saints will be put to death, but some will, and maybe many. At that time, many will turn away from their faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Matthew 24, verses 9 to 14. So these will be hard times for the saints. You'll be persecuted. Some will be put to death. You'll be hated. People will betray you. They will hate you. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But whoever stands firm to the end will be saved. Well, that's a good promise. Whoever stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So here's the condition for the end of time. When this gospel is preached into the whole world as a testimony to all nations, then the end will come. So if anyone tells you he is out in the wilderness, do not go out. Or Here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east, and is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Jesus even tells us the direction for us to look for his coming. At that time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the people on earth will mourn. All the people of the earth will mourn. I think all the people that are lost will mourn. I think the saints on earth will welcome Jesus' coming. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heavens to the other. So Jesus sends his angels down to collect his elect, the saints of earth, from all the four corners of the earth, and bring them up to him in the sky. In John 16 we read, "All this I have told you so that you will not fall away." This is why we want to study prophecy of the last days, so we can know what will happen. Jesus tells us that he wants us to study this so we will not fall away. So what have we learned from these Bible texts? Number one, God's wrath will be released on this earth. We don't know the time or the date, but we do know that it's close, it's nearby. People will be saying peace and safety, and then sudden destruction will come upon them. Jesus likens the end of time to labor pains of a pregnant woman. There will be wars, earthquakes, famines, but Jesus says these are the beginnings of labor pains. Number 6, Jesus tells us to watch, hold fast, and do not fall away. Jesus says he is coming soon and brings our reward with him. Jesus says, keep the words of this prophecy. He also says the gospel will be preached into the whole world, and then I will come. And finally, Jesus warns us not to be deceived. So my goal for these studies is pretty simple. I'd like to inform you of these end-time prophecies so you won't be deceived. And number 2, I'd like to spark your interest in studying the Bible and discover these truths for yourself. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I'd like to have you be studying your Bible to find out for yourself what the Bible teaches in this area. Over the following chapters, we will introduce you to a number of topics. The book of Daniel and Revelation, various Bible visions, some end-time beasts, the book of life with its 7 seals is a very big topic. The 7 trumpets is another big topic. The 7 bowls, or the 7 last plagues, and various time prophecies. So this is what we will be discussing and studying with you over the next 10 steps. So I need to caution you. This study may challenge, no, actually, this study will challenge your understanding of Bible prophecy. It's all right if you don't agree with me, but I think you owe it to yourself to view all of these and to see what I have to say. You'll be very interested, and I think it's something that you'll want to look at. So as they say, buckle up, it's going to be quite a ride. So my hope is that you prayerfully consider what is presented, and I hope you take the time to view all the various videos I have. At the end of each one of the steps, I will have this type of an approach where you can pause the video and I will list all the various Bible texts that I used in that section, so you could copy them down and review them at your leisure. I also have a DVD that has this complete study available for $20. The shipping is free in the U.S. So what you can do is send your request to comments at thecomingcrisis.org, and I will send an email back to you on when the DVD will be available and what you have to do to order it. In the meantime, there's 4 easy ways you can view these videos. There's smartphones and tablets, iTunes, YouTube, and your favorite podcast software. So on your smartphones and tablets, I have an application called Bible Prophecy Revealed. You can download this application from wherever you buy your applications. It's $1. That's as low as I could get it. They made me charge at least $1. And so all these videos will automatically come to your smartphone or tablet, and you can view them whenever you want. The second way that I like is with iTunes. You can download iTunes for free. It's at www.apple.com, and just look for the iTunes download, totally free. And when you get into your iTunes, when you open up that program, you go to the iTunes store and you search for the podcast called Bible Prophecy Revealed. And here you can get a download of all my videos, totally free, and you can watch them on your computer anytime you want. You can also go to YouTube. I have a channel on YouTube called The Coming Crisis, and you can watch all the videos there also. The only thing on YouTube, I have to break the videos into 15-minute segments. So there's actually more videos you would have to watch than the other ways I'm showing you. And finally, if you have a particular podcast software program that you like, you can go to that podcast software and search for Bible Prophecy Revealed, and most likely you'll find my videos on that also. I have connected with most podcast software companies, and they have links to get these softwares. So I hope you try out these various ways to look at these videos. Thank you very much.